A new performing arts facility is big news in any community, especially one as historic as Canandaigua, New York, right here in the Finger Lakes. Joining me today are the president of the board of the Fort Hill Performing Arts Center and their executive director, Sue Ann Townsend. Welcome so much. Thank you so much for coming in. It's great to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
How exciting to have a new performing arts center. Oh my.
Yes.
Oh my. Now, was it always a performing arts facility, or what's the history there, Gordon?
Well, the history is it's the former Canandaigua Academy.
Oh.
The building was built, the Main Street building in 1907, and the annex that houses the theater was built in 1928.
Oh.
It's a great connection for me as my dad graduated from there in 1936. It was my middle school in the 60s. And when the new school buildings were built in Canandaigua, the school district put the building up for sale. Conifer Realty purchased the building in 1992, 93, somewhere in there, and converted it into 61 senior housing units.
Oh.
And the theater itself was just mothballed, so it was closed up, utilities all cut, and it just sat there all these years. And the interesting thing for me, my 44-year theatrical career started there as a student, and so to come full circle with it becoming a performing arts center is just unbelievable. 4 years ago, we formed Fort Hill Performing Arts Center Incorporated as a not-for-profit, and we actually purchased the theater from Conifer this past December.
My.
They made the complex into 2 condominiums, the residences being one, of which now there are 60, because number 60, the 61st is actually our box office and offices. And they made the theater into condominium 2. So we purchased the theater in December and own it. And right now are in the middle of all these renovations. So
Congratulations. Yeah. That's huge, huge progress.
Yeah.
Oh my. To buy a theater.
Yeah, to buy the sign, "We own a theater." Are we crazy? No. But the other thing too, Conifer has just been a wonderful partner in this, and they wanted to see it used. And because the utilities were cut and everything, there was no damage from broken pipes or electrical fires or, you know, things left from old systems that were in place. So it is just a gorgeous, not Art Deco, it's really classical interior. Of 1928, and the architect that built the Main Street, designed the Main Street building in 1907, Wilson Potter from New York, also designed the annex, and so the annex was added, which housed the theater, a gymnasium, the swimming pool, which was under the theater, which is a neat space for us, and woodworking and an automotive shop.
Oh.
Now, by the time I was in school, the automotive shop became a metal shop. But in 1928, they believed everyone should be able to repair their own, which you could in those days, you know, repair your own car. And so it was a required course in 1928.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, so yeah, it's really, really cool. And there's a funny anecdotal story regarding the building, and it's kind of the history of Canandaigua. The community being quite conservative, every time we put a school building, new school building up to vote, it always goes down the first time. And Fort Hill did the same thing. They put the annex up, it was $199,000 to build, and it went down the first time. So, as did our, what is now our middle school and what is now our high school, they all went down the first time.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, so it's just, it's kind of neat.
Now, you mentioned Main Street. Where exactly in Canandaigua is this?
It's actually right on the north end of town, between Fort Hill Avenue and Chapel Street. It's called Fort Hill Apartments, the main academy building, and it's very recognizable because it looks like a school. And Conifer recently restored the exterior of the building, redid it. The building had a mansard roof originally, but it had a rubber membrane put over it, and so they restored the mansard roof, restored all the 60 apartments and windows. The place looks amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and so once our portion is done, it's going to be great.
And just a human interest aside, what happened to Canandaigua Academy?
There was a Granger Street school that was built, which was Canandaigua Academy that I attended. And then when they closed this Fort Hill property, they built the new high school up on East Street.
I see.
The present Canandaigua Academy.
I see.
And the history of that is Canandaigua Academy was formed in 1791 as a private boys' school. So people like Stephen Douglas and all kinds of folks attended it. And then it became a public school, I believe, I want to say 1904, but I'm not 100% on that date, but I believe 1904.
I see.
And then, or the building was converted in 1904, I can't remember which, but yeah, so it goes way, way back.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, but it is a public high school presently.
It's neat that you have a personal connection to the facility.
Yes.
And so now in remodeling or renovating a theater that's been dormant for some time, what's involved there, and did you find good raw materials? Yes,
and that was the thing. By it being left alone, no one tried to modernize it. No one did really anything to it. It literally just sat there. And so really we were able to go in, and the nice thing about it, the theater reminds you of a small Broadway house. It's so pretty. It's got a plaster proscenium arch with a big cartouche in the center of the top, and the mezzanine is outlined in plaster panels, and it has you know all kinds of interesting plaster architecture. So it's just a very pretty room. I mean, it was stripped down, the lighting fixtures were gone, all of those things, but certainly with my background of working there for years, I knew what most things looked like and what it was like. So we worked very well with the folks from New York State Historic Preservation, and did obtain some tax credits for funding. And so it's really been a really workable thing, and we've tried to keep the room with the same feeling it always had. It's going to be modern seats, air conditioning, all of that, which probably is the biggest thing that as people have been walking through in renovations and things and seeing the renovations, putting HVAC into a 1928 building is a massive undertaking. And the other thing, because we are a commercial venue and the mid-sized venue for Rochester and the Finger Lakes, we wanted to make sure that air handling and all of that was done correctly so that there was no noise from the systems. So what is very interesting is all the air handling, including the furnaces, are outdoors.
Outdoors?
Outdoors, outside the north side of the building, ductwork, which brings it into the building, and just many spaces in the building are just crammed full of ductwork. It's amazing. Wow. But completely air conditioned, completely heated, with no noise whatsoever.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah, and it's rare. I mean, you know, good commercial houses in Rochester, of course, you know, it's the norm, but a lot of other smaller facilities, it's not. There's noise from air handling.
Right,
so.
Now you mentioned it's a mid-sized theater.
Yes.
What size are we talking about?
427 seats. The house was originally 1,100, and under the former balcony, the acoustics were really bad. And we also, for the fact that, you know, my 40-year career in technical theater, we've been wanting a mid-sized venue in this area all those years. And so we really wanted to pursue that and, you know, have it come to fruition that way. So that's why we chose to cut it down. The area under the former balcony is a gallery for art displays, for catered events, general inner lobby for patrons. So it creates a good usable space and an additional space for some additional income.
I see.
So that works out well.
And is there a coffee or anything on the second level that you mentioned?
The second level, originally the balcony seated 300. And there are 5 sunken boxes in a loge section in the front of it. We couldn't reseat the mezzanine, what we're calling the mezzanine now, because we've reduced the size of it. We couldn't reseat it because we couldn't put in the second means of egress for that number, given the historic character and designation of the building.
Oh, yeah.
The building is actually in a historic district in Canandaigua. So we decided the boxes had been floored over, we opened them back up, restored them, and those are donor boxes.
I see.
And each of the 5 boxes seats 8 patrons, and we've put a restroom upstairs. The elevator serves all 3 floors of the facility.
Fantastic.
And, you know, tried to keep it really workable for everybody.
And is the stage itself a professional-sized stage, or what kind of production can go on there?
Yes, I mean, given its age and the fact that it was a school, it's a little smaller, but it definitely, if we're talking small Broadway houses, it's exactly the same.
Right.
We have extended the downstage edge of the stage, which also has a 6x12 lift in the center.
Really?
To go to the lower level. And the stage proscenium is 34 feet wide, 18 feet high, and then there is fly space above the stage. So it really has all the amenities that, you know, technically that a theater needs. New lighting positions, new lighting systems, electrical service, sound systems, everything you really need commercially. We have a sprung floor for the stage that we can put down for dance. Rochester City Ballet was very kind to provide that for us.
Fantastic.
And it will be there, home away from home. So.
Oh, I had no idea. That's good.
Yeah.
And how about an orchestra pit?
Unfortunately, we weren't able to do a pit, but what we did, considering the way the building is built, the main floor of the theater, the orchestra level, actually sits over the top of where the pool was.
Oh.
And there's, you know, many pillars in that level, and again, we just weren't able, given the size, to put in a pit, so-called. But there is an area, the first 2 rows of seats, all the way along in the front are on skids. You throw them on the lift, take them down to the basement, you've got a pit area.
That's
Probably one of our limitations, but certainly can be done and will suffice for, I think, the size events that'll take place there.
Right, and the lift makes that all that possible.
Absolutely. And that being said, we extended the stage in order to put the lift in, so that's another reason that the space for an orchestra pit didn't exist. The original stage was a little shallow, it was 22 feet.
Right.
And now, of course, it's 30 feet, so that's a good size, you know.
So obviously you bring a lot of technical expertise to the, tell us a little about your background then.
Well, as I said, my career started on that stage in 1968. My music teacher, the RPO was coming to play, and my music teacher said, is there anybody that wants to work the concert? And of course, you know, it's like, yes, I'll do that. And what is just fantastic is I have been the full-time lighting director with the RPO for the past 5 years.
That's the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yes, the Rochester Philharmonic, and I will be retiring from there in December. And so that's been interesting. I started out with Broadway summer stock. Many people might remember the Town and Country Playhouse that was in East Rochester. And of course, that was a Broadway summer stock house where the shows rotated a circuit in the summer. So I apprenticed there, became a master electrician, and then just kind of went from there. When I went to college, I studied history. I didn't do theater because I had done it for so long. But anyway, the theater career went on, and I formed my own rental business in the late 70s, and actually just closed that yesterday because all the equipment went to Fort Hill, so to outfit Fort Hill. And then I have been with Rochester City Ballet for 25 years. I was with Broadway Theater League for over 20 years, and I retired from there. And I taught at Canandaigua Academy, the present academy. I was fortunate when John Parkhurst, who's CEO of the Broadway Theater League, and I designed the Academy Theater, the present one, and then I was fortunate to get the position to manage it. So I did it for 25 years, formed the the student crew, and formed an apprenticeship program in the Rochester area where the students worked with the local 25 union and things like that. So we've had a great time over the years, and I've had a wonderful career, and to have it go back to Fort Hill is just amazing. And the one thing that I think amazes people, Canandaigua had such a rich culture in the performing arts. We had many, many groups, and my mother performed in the group players in Canandaigua, and I can remember as a 4-year-old sitting in a seat and it kept folding up on me while I was at rehearsals. And the Canandaigua Productions was another organization, local organization, and we had an organization called the Canandaigua Lively Arts Council. And they brought in talent from mostly New York to play the Fort Hill stage. So basically, at the same time, as soon as I left school, I stayed on to manage that, because the Fort Hill stage, because we had these performances still going on.
They're very lucky to have you, clearly, for your technical expertise and your knowledge of the history. It's just great.
Yeah.
And so, as executive director now, you have a challenge ahead too.
I do. I'm looking forward to everything that we can bring to this wonderful new facility.
Yeah, but you're no stranger to the stage yourself.
No, I was a professional ballet dancer for over 20 years.
Aye.
And danced all over the United States and a little bit internationally, and landed in Rochester and 2 years ago in 2017, and yeah, met Gordon through Rochester City Ballet, and he coerced me into coming onto this project, and I happily did so.
Well, I saw your eyes light up when he mentioned the sprung floor. That's very important. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That makes it the facility accessible to a lot of different kinds of shows.
It does. It does. And I have a feeling, looking forward, we're at an inflection point right now because we've been so concerned with construction, and now we're moving into operational phase, and we're looking forward to all the things that that can be presented on our stage. And I feel like geographically, Canandaigua is positioned in a wonderful location, because things are traveling from New York City on its way to Chicago or wherever, and we're right in the pathway, and so that opens up so many opportunities for touring dance productions that can come and use our sprung floor, and a whole bunch of other things. So,
well, with the 400-seat theater, that's about perfect for chamber music, for instance.
It is. It absolutely is. It's perfect for chamber music. There's so many vital professional, semi-professional, and community arts organizations in the area that need a quote-unquote right-sized theater. And from a dancer's perspective, it's always better to do more shows for the artist so they can grow their character. But it also feels better to perform to a full house. So when you have a right-sized theater, you can schedule more shows and play to full houses, and it's so much nicer than a one-off in a 2,000-seat auditorium that you pull a good house, but you still feel like nobody's there. You know? So I have a feeling that we're going to fill a niche, not just in the Canandaigua city proper, but also branching out into a wider regional area.
I see. And so these will primarily be touring shows, or would you like to, what's the mix going to be?
I think it'll be a really good balance of local arts organizations and touring shows. Canandaigua, I'm just starting to learn Canandaigua, but it seems to me like, it's a seasonal kind of place. It draws a certain population during the summers, and winter is a different story. So I think we'll have to look in terms of programming different things to accommodate, the two different, groups of clients. But so it gives us a lot of flexibility. I'm very excited about, having local groups like Rochester City Ballet, the Rochester Oratorio Society. We're in discussions with Bristol Valley Theater for bringing some of their things up to us. Groups like that. Then I'm also in discussion with some of my connections worldwide to do some festivals. One of the things that I'm working on right now is a World Music Festival, bringing in an array of musicians that have had, from different parts of the world, that have had cross-pollination with musical styles. I'm also in the works with some new graduates of the Eastman School that are into scoring films, and they've scored some short films, plus also written new music for some old silent films. So we're looking to try to put together a film festival with live music.
And is it possible to project in that theater?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you can project there as
We
well.
can do almost anything.
I'm not surprised, Gordon.
Almost anything.
So will you be a presenting organization, or will you be a facility that people rent, or what? How does that work?
We will do some presenting ourselves. It'll be probably split. I don't know if it'll be 50-50. It'll probably be more local organizations renting and us presenting to a smaller degree. But we're really looking forward to the variety that we can pull in there.
Now, are there challenges on the development side for an executive director also? I mean, I heard about the donor boxes.
There's always challenges.
Well, tell us about those.
Well, the whole project, the renovation project so far is $5.8 million, and we have still $800,000 to raise.
You're talking about dollars here.
Dollars.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Not euros. To see the project through to fruition tricked out with all of its equipment. We want to be basically a plug-and-play facility. So when a orchestra comes, a chamber orchestra comes, the Oratorio Society comes, the ballet comes, all they have to do is bring their personal effects and come in. That we are equipped with, choral risers and seats for players, stands, lights, even a goodly amount of musical equipment, percussion equipment that is expensive to transport. We will have that in-house for use. Dance floor, sprung floor is already there, Marley floor is already there. We have costume racks. All you have to do is bring in the costumes, you know? So we want to be like a plug-and-play facility, not any, not anything that there has to be extra effort from the group's perspective. So, given that we have a lot of, aside from the construction, we have a lot of equipment we have to purchase and all of that. Plus, most arts organizations, schedule their seasons 2 to 3 years in advance. And construction projects being what they are, we hope we're open by the date we expect, but you never know, and this can happen. So we want to have our first season basically pre-funded, so worst case scenario prevails, we're still good to go. So we have this $800,000 that we still need to raise in order to secure that fully. We still have some naming rights available to certain areas of the facility. We have Gordon talked about the theater proper and also the art gallery. But we also have some other useful spaces in the building. We have an archival area because we actually have holdings of archival materials from the history of the facility. And we are planning on having rotating exhibits.
Great.
Featuring aspects of that. I've talked to the Ontario Arts Council about curating our visual art shows in the gallery.
Fantastic.
Those things will be items for sale, but they're also willing to coordinate with productions, so it's complementary to whatever is up. We have a multi-purpose room that can be used for a variety of things, so that we can also do conferences and lectures and conferences with breakout rooms and things like that.
Isn't that great?
So there's a lot going on in the facility other than just the theater proper. And you want to say something? You're itching to get in there.
The archive is what one of the things I'm excited about. Ray Russell, who was a local music teacher, was my dad's music teacher in '36, and he was my first music teacher in the '60s. And the Russell family donated all of his archives. We have the 1939 World's Fair trophy that the Academy Marching Band won. It's copper, and it stands about this high, and it's Art Deco. It's the neatest thing, but solid copper. We have all of those archives with original photographs of the stage with scenery on it.
Oh, my.
All kinds of things like that they donated. So the idea, and the other part of that is, over the years, as the school district removed items from the theater or original equipment and stuff, I would grab this stuff either out of the trash or ask if I could have it beforehand, and stored it. And I mean, I moved it from, I've only moved 4 times in my life, but I've moved it to 4 different properties, holding on to it all these years.
Oh, yeah.
And so now it's all at Fort Hill. Yeah, so this lower lobby has an area that has changing displays. And it has a little built-out area that's kind of a permanent case. We have a piece of the original pin rail from the original hemp rigging. We have some lighting fixtures that are original from the space. We saved a portion of the strip lights that were still hanging on stage, the open trough strip lights. We couldn't save the whole thing, so we cut a section off. We have those. We have original curtains from the theater. Canandaigua also had a large 1,700-seat house, the Playhouse Theater in town, which was lost in the 70s to a bank teller area, unfortunately. It wasn't a deluxe house like Smith Opera House, but it was still a beautiful, and had a large stage. And so a friend of mine who's one of our board members and I, in the 70s when it was being torn down, got permission from the folks that had purchased the property to go in and remove anything we could possibly remove. I mean, nowadays you wouldn't let, you know, I think we were still in high school. It was 72, and nowadays they wouldn't let somebody do that, of course, for liability. But we did. He and his dad own Canandaigua car dealership, so they brought pickup trucks down, and we loaded all this equipment. There's sandbags that are all signed by people that performed there. There's actually some canvas scenery that's been removed from the frames, but all signatures on it.
Oh my!
There's curtains, original curtains from the theater, very decorative. Swagged pieces and things like that again I've been holding on to all these years, and now they can go into this archive. And so it's the Canandaigua Performing Arts Archive, and given by the Twilliger family. And like I say, it'll have changing exhibits. And Ray Russell's daughter-in-law is our volunteer archivist, who will be changing the displays and all that kind of thing.
Like vertical history of the
yeah, it's amazing. And
well, in our last few seconds, Sue Ann, just tell us how to get in touch with you, where to find you, and.
Okay, we are at 20 Fort Hill Avenue in Canandaigua. You can visit our website at www.fhpac.org. We are due for an overhaul on our website fairly soon, so if you visit it now, visit it again in a few months, because it'll probably be updated.
Sure. And
we hope to see everybody at a performance once we get open. We plan our grand opening for the middle of January 2020, and we'll be accepting bookings as of the 1st of February in 2020.
That sounds great.
And look forward to seeing everybody at a show.
Let's hope they all find you. Our guests today in the spotlight have been Gordon Esty. He's president of the board of the Fort Hill Performing Arts Center, and their executive director, Sue Ann Townsend. Thank you so much for all this wonderful information.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate it.
In the Spotlight is a production of Penfield Television, with sponsorship from Nocon & Associates, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Advisors. If you enjoy this program, please find us on Facebook, like and share the program, and find our full playlist on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.